Welcome to Evans Radio. We are back with little Dave. We are, 2 days out from Christmas.
Yep.
So I was just telling you I had all my Christmas shopping done. I brought a Christmas tree home for Angela this morning after my chiropractic visit. I feel very accomplished. I'm gonna go train arms in a little bit. It's gonna be a great day.
That's awesome.
Do you have Christmas Day off, or does your split have you train on Christmas?
It'll be a rest day.
Oh, same here. It's aligned.
Phil, yeah, I have back and shoulders. I have legs today and back and shoulders tomorrow.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
So and then rest day and then arms.
Yeah. And see that's such a good combo, right? Because it's almost like you empty the reserves aggressively with those two sessions. And I know
Mhm.
everyone knows what I have you do for those body parts, but it's a lot of work. A lot of output, let me put it that way. Um, and then you have a rest day. I'm gonna have you eat 1 to 2 free meals on Christmas with your family, whatever you want. And then you have arms the day after. So it's like a perfect break in back into training before you have to hit back again. So yeah, I have arms today with Alex, and we're going to do back tomorrow with him, and then off Wednesday. Then we'll do chest, shoulders on Thursday, legs on Friday, and then I got back on the newbie with that on Saturday. So it's absolutely flawless training going in the week of Christmas. So
Yeah. I might use the newbie for legs today, actually.
oh yeah,
I have I'm training two people beforehand with it.
okay,
And so I'm gonna have it. So it's like one of those days it's just like, we'll see how I feel.
right, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Do you have
Or
somebody operate it for you, or do you do like the old Brad Rowe shit where he just cranks it and then gets going?
I usually Zach's gonna be here today.
Oh heck yeah, okay,
So
cool.
I'll usually have him running for me.
Oh
But
perfect,
I've done both.
yeah, right, yeah,
It's so funny how much harder that is when you're like, all
oh
right, cool. I just turned this up past 80 and my legs are completely locked out. I'm gonna waddle back into this fucking hack squat machine.
right. And you know what's funny with that is I know not everyone's had a chance to use that, but it's like those first couple reps for me are always the worst
Mhm.
because it's such an intense sensation of wanting to cramp. And when you shove out of the hole to unrack the pins on a hack squat, like it wants to cramp so hard at that top. And the best way to, in my opinion, at least, to get going with that newbie is you got to get in that stretch as fast as possible. Because if you can, like for me, if I can get down that stretch on a hack specifically, have that quad lengthen, it feels pretty damn good to get going. And then,
Mhm.
as you get into it, I feel like you almost have a let up a bit before it starts to set in and get miserable again. So,
Yep.
heck yeah. No, I actually love newbie on the legs because it's like I don't need hardly any volume and I'm smoked. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just it reduces the workout time too because you don't need as many warm-ups. Normally you and I might do two warm-ups, a few feeders, maybe another feeder, and then a top set. With that, man, I feel like I need like a set of 15, a set of 12, and then I'm good. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, good, I can do hamstrings.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly.
it's like you remove even more fluff and it's an even better pump. Now, if you've been on it a while, like I don't feel like I don't lose strength on it anymore like I used to when I first started using it. Do you experience the same, or can you pretty much
Yeah.
use the same weights?
I use the same weights.
Same. Yeah.
I'm a weirdo because like the first time I used one,
Yeah.
he cranked it to 100 and he's like, I've never seen anybody go past 80. And he's like, what the fuck are you made out of?
Steel.
Like, because it was like the first thing we did was legs. He's like, yeah, I've never gotten anybody past 80 on hamstrings. And I was like, well, let's see what happens. And he's like, well, that's at 100. And I think I got like 28 reps on the hamstring curl with it. And he was just like, this is retarded. I was like, it's just painful. I mean, like, that's,
Did I ever tell you about the day that I was just like angry at Chris? No, I wasn't really angry at Chris. I was angry at me, really. And I came in, I said, all right, let's do this. Give me a couple feeder sets of back to get warm. And then I want you to put it on 100 and leave it there for the whole session. I was like, don't even take it down in my rest periods. And he was like, you're a moron. I'm like, has anyone ever done this before? And he's like, not with me. I was like, I'm going to be the first.
yeah,
After like 20 minutes, my back felt like hamburger meat, like just
yeah,
grinded. And
yeah.
I don't recommend it to anyone, by the way.
No, no.
Yeah, it was stupid. But again, it's the fuck around and find out. Like, yeah, it's
Yep.
what I've always loved about training. So,
That's how we learn.
correct. Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I will say
Because,
my back was like purple because it had so much blood in
yeah,
it.
that's right. I mean, it definitely does that.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. I think that's what, anyone who's ever used one, it was the first time they use it, they don't understand how much blood is going to get into that muscle.
Mhm.
It gets so full and so fast. It's a really cool feeling,
Yeah.
which I tell people, like, if you have trouble connecting to a muscle tissue, I highly recommend it. If you need a muscle recovered or going through injury, like, I highly recommend it. And sadly, I know that most aren't going to have access to one.
Yeah.
But you and I are both really lucky to you be an operator, and then one of my really good buddies has one, so
Yeah. Yeah.
we get to use it. But I was telling you before we got on here, like, I'm always amazed about when I push back against like influencers in the science-based community. They very much speak in like truth and black and white, and that is something that you and I very rarely do. For us, it's mostly gray. And I think it's because we've been around this game long enough to know that common knowledge evolves, intelligence evolves, and what they may believe is true in this moment based upon some studies may not be in a decade. Where you and I are like, okay, there might be some truth to that. Um, which is why we tend to try to milk things from all angles. Like, we don't marry ourselves to a certain rep range and say, oh, 4 to 6 is optimal growth, or 5 to 8, or 8 to 12, or 15 to 20. You and I are
Yeah.
like, can't we just do a little bit of everything?
Yeah. Like in all reality, like when people come to me and they're struggling to build legs, I'd legitimately tell them just get strong in every single rep range.
Correct.
1 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15,
Yeah.
15 to 20,
Yep.
20 to 30, all of it.
Correct. Yep. Agreed. And something I think too that a lot of times is missed when we're speaking about rep range specifically is age and time and use, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
when you and I were early 20s, I wouldn't have blinked twice at flat benching, incline benching, dumbbell pressing, rowing, deadlifting below 5 or below. I wouldn't have
Yeah.
thought twice about it. Now, I would never have been in the camp. I think you said this, of doing leg extensions below 8. Like, that is useless.
Mhm.
But listen, I've had you do squats in the 6 to 8 for years, like,
Mhm.
as I did. But that is way different when you're in your 20s and you're growing and building a foundation, in my opinion, than guys in their late 30s, 40s, and 50s. Like,
Yeah.
you want to feel broken real quick, take sets to failure in the 4 to 6 rep range,
Mhm.
specifically with free weights. Or honestly, man, like, put me on a
Honestly,
leg extension, or go ahead.
anything. Like
Yeah,
on it, yeah, take it to actual failure in the 4 to 5 rep range.
right.
For everything you do, you're gonna feel like you've been hit by a truck.
Yeah. I
And if
mean,
you don't, you're simply not training to failure.
agree. Like, look, put me, you and I on say, an easy bar tricep push down, exercise one. And even if it's in a no air conditioned gym in the middle of summer, doing a set of 5 for that with a gym pin and God knows how many plates you and I'd have to load on there. Shit, we probably didn't have to hold each other's traps down to keep our feet grounded on the ground. Our elbows are going to feel like absolute dog shit after a month of doing that.
Yeah. Well, I
Like,
mean, arms for me, I have tricep pushdowns first,
yep.
and my rep range has been the entire stack and a 45 pin to it, and I'm doing it for 22. I've been doing it consistently over 20 for a week, and then my back off has been getting higher numbers week to week.
The back doesn't take
And
into
I'm
his
getting
hands.
I'm getting 20 plus reps with uh honestly, I don't know even how much it fucking weighs because it's in kilos. It's fucking Watson equipment.
Right.
But
Yep.
uh, the full stack plus a 45.
Right.
So probably close to, 200 pounds. Maybe more than 200 pounds.
Maybe 250 or 300. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And I'm getting that for 20 plus.
yep,
So for me to get, less than 8 reps on that, we're adding what, another 45?
at least, maybe a plate and a quarter.
Yeah.
Yep. And like I said, you may be able to do that for 2, 3, 4 weeks. But going to that fifth week, I would bet my life that your elbows start screaming at you. And if your elbows are causing you pain, guess what that does? That affects back training, that affects chest training, shoulder training, and then arms. So it's like, huh, Why in the world would I take a rep range that low? Even though let's say you're 100% right. Let's say every scientific study on the planet says that's where the most growth is. Okay, awesome. In a short window, you and I plan to bodybuild for years. That's not going to play out in the longevity of this sport to be good and big, right? Like you and I both know how many years it takes for you and I, with people with genetics like us, to grow muscle. It's not a sprint. It is a long game, years on end, training 4 to 5 times a week, eating 6 meals a day, Groundhog Day. If we're hurt or injured, that's not happening. We're getting smaller. We aren't progressing. So it's like, I think a lot of times people see those studies and they look at them like so pinpoint and laser focused, or they're young and have never worked with the populations that I have, where it's guys in their late 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. Go load a 60-year-old with 5 plates on a hack squat for a set of four, and let me ask him what his back and knees and hips feel like afterwards. Please. Because all your science says does that. You want to gain the most muscle, that's what you're going to do. Oh, but Chris, that's an extreme example. Go fuck yourself. How about a guy with an ACL repair? You going to put him on a hack squat for a set of five? I'm not. It,
Oh yeah. Well, and then it's other things like that. It's like think about it logically. If I'm doing, I usually do side laterals between 30 and 40 pounds, and I'm getting 15 plus.
mhm,
Am I supposed to do side laterals with 70-pound dumbbells?
right. Yep.
That's gonna grow my shoulders really fucking well. And then it's like, well, you shouldn't be doing dumbbells because that's not optional. It's like, good luck fucking doing that with a cable setup.
Right.
Same concept. Fucking
Yep.
70 pounds on a cable. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Think about this. If you and I were going to do walking lunges, which is an incredible exercise, or Bulgarian split squats, or a split squat in a Smith machine, how much would we have to load on there for a set of five? Like, I've done walking lunges with 100-pound dumbbells for 12 steps each leg. So to cut that in half, I'm going to guess 130s to 150s. The stabilization there alone would be terrifying. So it's like, I don't know. I think that goes back to on paper in a confined lab of guys who aren't strong or don't have years of experience like you and I do, that may work perfect because they may be lifting 2 plates on a hamstring incline. That's not us.
Yeah, not five.
Correct. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, if you and I were hitting a set of five, fuck, we'd probably have to do 5 1/4 or six. I mean, that's just being honest. It's not bragging on you or I. It's just the truth. Like, I would be terrified at my age to lift some of the weights or like doing a preacher curl with the dumbbell. What am I going to have to use? The 60s? How
Mhm.
long before that shit is up in here? Not doing it. Not doing it. So it's like it's all about context, guys. I'm telling you it, and I know probably there's very few people who are in the group that we're talking back against that are probably listening to this because they've probably already turned it off by now. Um, but for the ones of us out there who still do what I consider of like having an open mind training, learning from the people before us, I really challenge you all to continue to push that forward and not to be condescending pricks. And like, I know it's really easy. Like, listen, my Instagram right now is filled with synthol fucking accusations, and it's all steroids. And a fun fact for the viewers, I've never used synthol anywhere on my body, and I've never told a client to use it. So, listen, I've been pretty open and honest about things that I've done in my life. Why would I lie about that? I don't know. Um, I'll also say this. One of the things that I really like about my physique is how my muscle is shaped, and I don't want to alter that. It's not
Yeah.
as big as I want it to be, but if I'm speaking specifically about shoulders, I love the shape of my shoulders. I would never put an oil in there that's going to fuck up how that looks
Yeah.
because we all know what you and I do. If it's apparent, we're going to get scored down. And the last thing I want to do is have points taken away because of a fucking oil. Um,
Yeah. I mean, I honestly don't give a shit what people do, but like I think it's hilarious when it's bodybuilding and people are like, "Oh, I did synth that." I have it in my arms, I have it in my chest, I have it in my shoulders, and it's like it's bodybuilding, not body manipulation.
yeah.
Like that's the same. Like girls get docked down if they have glute implants.
Yes. Agreed.
You know, they don't get locked down for boob implants, but you know, that's not changing. You know, but like if you go on, if you're a wellness chick and you have glute implants, like fuck, you're not winning that show
Agreed.
because they want to see muscle. They don't want to see fake.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
And it's the same thing. I mean, I just can't understand. I can wrap the concept of it. If you're in the top five of the Olympia and you have a weak body part because it's just inherently weak, and you add a little bit, I can justify. You could justify that to me.
Right.
But if you're at NPC, hell, you're even a pro, but you're not winning pro shows, the difference is not going to be what synthol you used.
Agreed. Agreed. And I know that I know that hurts a lot of this crowd, right? Because when they try to come at someone like me who's been literally training a bodybuilder for 20 years and eating meals like a bodybuilder for 20 years, they don't really have a rebuttal. It has to be, oh, well, that's you're cheating. And I'm like, or I've just been willing to not quit, right? Like
Yeah,
they were, if you and I ran those numbers of 6 meals a day times 20 years, they couldn't comprehend how much food that is. You and I run that math because we like the tangible take homes from that. But when you sit down and look at it, like they're used to fighting bros on the internet who aren't like you and I who are obsessive about this stuff, right? And I've yet to meet one of those people who felt that way, who when they came and trained with me, their mind wasn't at least open.
hmm
Like, huh, that's a new feeling. Like, yeah, but it's another way.
yeah,
I'm not saying my way is the best. Like it's very similar. Like let's say I had the opportunity to go train with Milos for a week and we did giant sets. I'm not going to go home and start doing giant sets. But if I know if I'm going to train with him, I'm going to do that and I'm going to have a blast at it.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like you and I could go do that with him, have so much fun, but we're not going to go home and be like, we're changing everything we've ever done to giant sets.
yeah. But we're gonna take notes on what really felt well.
Correct.
You're
Yep.
like, oh, this superset felt amazing.
Right. Yep.
Like the ones you find what are just, like tricep push down superset with overhead tricep extensions.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Like it's one of those where it's like that was meant to happen.
Correct.
It's
Agreed.
it's basically like meat and beans and rice.
Yes.
The two things would just go together.
Right. Yep.
And you may not find that combo unless you fuck around.
Yes.
You know,
Yep.
and that's what bodybuilding is about. Is like trying things, seeing how your body likes them, and then doing that repetitively.
Yes.
You
What's
know.
funny is I think back to the first time I ever did that rotation, and it was because I was short on time and the gym was busy.
Mhm.
And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do my push downs and go right into overhead extension. And I was like, man, that felt incredible. It's very similar to doing straight arm pull downs and lat pull downs, kind of like superset, alternating set. However, you know how I do it. You've trained with me, and you're like, that just feels good for the lats, and it doesn't exhaust me to the point where it's going to affect my first heavy rowing movement. And I'm like, man, that scratches two issues. Huge pump in the lat, connectivity to it, and it doesn't distract or detract from pulling power on exercise three. And then you do it, and you're like, man, I've never felt my back like that. Like, yeah, no shit, it works. Like, again, that doesn't fit a scientific study. No one had to tell me other than I just felt it. And I was like, this is a good shit. It's I would love to have John on the podcast right now and have him break down how he discovered hamstring curls before um, everything else on leg day for the audience. Because that's one of the questions I had for him when we first got to hang out. I was like, where did you discover that? And he's like, the squat rack was taken, the leg extension was taken, and somebody was on the leg press. So we went and leg curled, and then it felt really good. So I started to repeat it.
Yeah,
Weird, right?
yeah.
It,
Well, it's
it,
like one of those things. It's just like we've all gone to the gym and started with squats.
yes. Yep.
You're like, how long does it take you to feel good? You know,
A
a
lot.
while.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And then like, all right, cool. What can we do to build up to this?
Yep.
You know, and like as things go, it's like, all right, hamstring curls. We got adductors. I was like, oh man, that combo feels amazing. At the bottom, I'm just like a springboard.
Yes. Yep.
You know, It's like, man, I think this is going to make my squats better,
Agreed.
versus just doing squats and those ones after it. And there's a reason why we found these things.
Yes.
It's nothing comically new or scientific. It's just like, wow, that worked well. I feel great. I had a pump and I'm progressing,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know? And it's just one of those things. It's like how we find where our volume is we add volume until we don't recover
Yes.
and we pull back from there.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
not that the hard of a process,
No.
you know,
Right.
but it's just a process of doing it. The only way to do it is to do it, you know,
Yep.
because we're all slightly different there based on how hard we can train and how well we can recover,
Agreed.
So it's like there's no set rules to this. You just go in and you have at it and then you assess. And that's bodybuilding.
Yeah. Agreed.
There's no straight answer where you're like, oh, if you go lift, you do a tricep push down for 8 reps, you're gonna get bigger triceps. That's not an answer.
No.
No, that does not mean anything.
Agreed. Agreed. Going back to that leg curl adductor and then into quads is like something else that I think that people don't appreciate until they do it is it gives your mind a chance to settle into the training session.
Mhm.
You know, where if you started with squats, it's like, okay, you were right into the inferno. You were the deep end. Where leg curls and adductors, I have a little bit of safety involved mentally, right? Nothing crazy is going to happen in those two, right? I'm going to lock in, I'm going to crank on my hamstrings with a huge pump, and I'm going to get my body, but my in my mind, acclimated to absolutely destroy squats or a leg press pattern. And I think that has helped me so much. And I think when people join me for sessions, it's like those prepared me for squatting. And I'm like, yeah, not just physically, but mentally. Like if you're going into squats drenched in sweat, I love that feeling.
Yeah.
As opposed to, let's say you and I walked into a gym in the spring or the fall or even the summer. We're gonna go one plate, plate and a quarter, two plates, three and a quarter, four, four and a quarter, five. How many of those sets is going to take till we're sweating? Probably three or four, maybe more, like depending upon our rep range is and how hot the gym is. And you're telling me that your body's going to be as prepared than if we wore out, say, 2 to 3 work sets total before that on a leg curl and adductor? Like, no, I'm telling you, we're going to be primed for that hack squat. And we're going to probably need less plates.
Yeah.
So it just makes sense. And as you said, how does that get found out and passed on? It's through word of mouth. It's through training programs. It's through intelligent coaching. And now it's through Instagram and YouTube or TikTok. Like the amount of times I've posted things on the internet in terms of YouTube or Instagram, people are like, man, I tried that and it felt incredible. And I'm like, yeah, tell your friends. And when I say tell your friends, I don't mean go subscribe to my channel and things like that. Like I would appreciate that, but no, spread the word of hey, there's other ways to train out there
Mhm.
other than what's being piped down our fucking throats. Like, oh, no, because what's funny is those same people will say things like, "Man, how do your fill in the blank look like this?" Or "How do you get your clients to grow like that?" And I'm like, you start telling them ways, and then it's like everything's rebuttal. Yeah, but what about this? And I'm like, there's multiple ways to do this, homie.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
push pull legs worked for me for arm growth, I would do it. Why?
Mhm.
Because it shortens my week, and also I can get more body parts in. You know, but like I think if anyone who does push pull arms and doesn't have genetically gifted arm growth, you find that your arms begin to lag drastically, as I
Mhm.
did. So
Yep.
it's like, what do you have to do? You have to do an arm day.
Yeah. Or at least specific arm work on your, like, I think that's where so many people go wrong on push pull legs is like their push, right? Their only tricep thing they do is like a push down.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like, why are we not using a dip?
Correct.
Or like, for the love of God, like, try doing a reverse grip bench,
Right. Yeah. Close grip bench press, another great
you
exercise.
know?
Yep.
And they just forgo all of the actual hard shit,
Yep.
and they're like, they're okay. I did 2 pushing movements, and now I'm gonna do a tricep push down, but I'm gonna do a single arm pinkies like this.
Yeah,
You
right,
know,
right.
a tricep extension with single arm and 5 pounds on it. It's like, well, no shit, your triceps are not growing.
Right. Yeah, no shit.
It's one of those concepts because I have yet to meet a good power lifter who has skinny triceps.
Agree. Yes, fact. Yep.
They've not. That's what back to our original thing on the growth thing, right? If you take an open eye, you just look at a power lifter,
Yes.
right? They have a good back. They
Yes.
usually have good quads,
Yep.
right? And they have good triceps.
Right. Yep.
I mean, cool. Yeah, you may argue with those work in the lower rep range for more, but they're also compound movements,
Yep.
right? But most of them don't have full chest. None of them have shoulders.
No.
None of them have hamstrings. They have
Right.
a lot of fucking glutes.
Yes, a lot of glue. Yep. Yep.
Their hips are stronger than fuck.
Yes.
So hence the glutes.
Yep.
And then their arms are meh. They have triceps.
Yeah.
So back to that's just pure observation. I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm just from everything I've seen, right?
Yeah.
And then you get bodybuilders who are the dead opposite,
Right.
and they have really good biceps, shitty triceps,
Yeah.
and the opposite, really good chest, really bad back. And it's like, what are they doing what you're not? What are they doing what you're not?
Yes. Yep.
And what's built from there,
Right. Yep.
you know? And that's just pure observation. And it's like, we obviously know some things are working and some things are not.
Right. Yep. Yep. I can tell you this. I wish I could remember the name of the program, and it completely has eluded my brain in this moment. But when John used to have me do push on Mondays for a whole training block of 4 weeks, he had me doing against the band close grip bench pressing. So it was press, press, fly. Then it was close grip band against the band bench, tricep push downs, and then my shoulders. And I'm telling you what, man, my triceps would be so damn full of blood doing those against the band close grip bench presses in a squat rack. Like it was, and the rep ranges was low. It was like 5 to 8 reps. And he was like, look, man, just move weight and explode that shit off your chest and flex the triceps. They will grow. And I'm telling you, like, that was such a cool training setup. Because like everything tied together, right? So it was like press, press, fly. And then when you do close grip bench press against the bands with a chest pump, it's like carryover. It's like chest and tries. Like
Mm-hmm.
just feels good. Um, so some food for thought there for everyone. And this kind of leads into the topic that you wanted to speak about today, which was why are we have been abandoning what you and I would consider basic lifts. So let's start here. What would you consider a few of the base movements for each body part so we can identify this?
So legs is going to be some sort of press. I mean, like, not like, well, as in a press, I'm kind of thinking of more of like a squat pattern.
Correct. Yeah.
That's what I'm more thinking of squat pattern.
Yeah.
And then that's going to be legs in general. Um, Pushing is going to be for chest, well, anything this way, right?
Yeah.
Of actual pushing, right? Not this flying, you know.
Yeah.
And then back is going to be deadlifting
Yeah.
and rowing
Correct. Yeah.
and the forgotten exercise of pullovers.
Yeah. Right.
That's where this entire thing started for me.
Yeah.
Because, well, like you said, like me and Zach were doing dumbbell pullovers the other day, and we had people who were just like, what the fuck are these guys doing?
Right. Yeah.
You know? And it's one of those things where it's just become, they're not hard to set up. They require a dumbbell and a bench,
Correct. Yes.
you know? But, everybody these days wants to just go to a cable machine and do a tricep row pullover or a
Right.
straight arm pullover, which is fine,
Yeah.
except we all know the angle of the weight, the weight, where the weight's hitting is different.
Yes. Correct.
On a dumbbell pullover, you don't really get any contraction at the top.
No.
You
Unless you
know?
use the band.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you get a massive stretch.
Yes. Yep.
On a cable, it's exactly reversed.
Yes.
Because as soon as you're into that stretch, basically the cable is in line with itself and it's just pulling you that way. It's not really pulling your tissue away from you. I mean, you might be able to try to replicate that, but best of luck if you do. Um, like even just like a pullover machine, it keeps pulling you this way
Right.
versus just that way,
Yep.
you know? And it's just like one of those basic things was just lost. And, it's like with squat, like I don't see anybody squatting anymore at the gym. And
Most
it's the
girls.
big, like, it's just the foundational movement shit. Like
Yep. Yep.
in reality, like back to like how we said before, like how you train when you're coming up versus if you're older, right? If you're above 30, yeah, you may not be doing heavy fucking squats,
Right.
right? However, there needs to be a lot, like the chances of you training for bodybuilding if you're 35 plus and never been in the gym before,
Yeah. Come on.
that's pretty fucking slim.
Agreed. Agreed.
Um, but when it comes down to it, all of that the base building stuff, everybody's skipping it, because instead of doing just a back squat, you know, people are jumping straight into a pendulum squat.
Yep.
And the main thing with that, like, yes, they're both squat patterns. And one of them, the pendulum is way better at hitting your quads,
Right. Yeah.
you know, and the main reason is because it takes your hips out of it.
Yes.
And that sounds like a fucking great thing. But the vast majority of people don't know how to use their hips because they've never had to.
Right. Yep.
How do you squat with a free, like how do you do a bodybuilding squat with you keep your torso upright
Yep.
with your hips,
Sit in the hole. Yep.
you know, versus sitting back, you knowing that difference there.
Yeah.
And I think the crossover is just massive because if you can control your hips in a squat, you can control your hips in an RDL
Yes.
because
Yep.
it's now you want to do the opposite thing. Now you want your hips to shoot back
Right.
versus keeping them tucked forward.
Yes.
And not learning how to do that because you just jump straight into a pendulum squat.
Yep.
You're just, I mean, you're taking steps back by trying to take too many steps forward.
Yeah. Right. So you had a lot of issues, a lot of things there that I love to touch on. So let's go back to the pullover because I like that. The dumbbell pullover, the amount of hate I've gotten on that exercise anytime I posted is immense.
Mhm.
That's for chest. That's not for lats. Studies show this. Studies show that. I can tell you this. When I do pullovers the way John taught me, the stretch of my lats and the pump I get them is wild. Also, I don't just do that for lats. Think about the serratus. No one thinks about the benefits of that. Guess what looks cool as shit? When you have fingers sitting on your damn rib cage when you do a front double. Okay. What I really challenge all the people out there who talk about the hatred for dumbbell pullovers. Go read anything Arnold has ever written on the dumbbell pullover and why he did it for chest expansion and rib cage expansion. Just please go educate yourself. I'm not going to go into a whole sidebar of pullovers. I just want you to read it. Like educate yourself. It will it will force your brain to say, "Man, I should really start doing this." Because when you do those, breathe properly and get a great stretch, not only is it great for lats, serratus, intercostal, rib cage expansion, it does incredible jobs of getting the shoulder mobility up. From set one to set three, you can get more range of motion. Why? It's not because the weight's heavier. You can do the same weight across the board, but you can get deeper. Why? Because the shoulder capsule is releasing. So added benefits there. That's the first thing I want to touch on because, like you, I did dumbbell pullovers on Friday and I loved them. And I had a guy ask me, "What are those for? What are you working there, man?" And I was like, "Oh my God, my soul is crying." I
Yeah.
was like, "I'm working these for lats, man." And he was like, "Really?" And I was like, "You got to do them the way I was doing them." I said, "If you go to this YouTube channel," and I sent him my link for YouTube. I was like, "Go watch this video and then do them." I said, "It'll take a little bit of work and practice." And I think that might be a problem for it, right? Like people do it once, like, "Oh, it's garbage. I felt my triceps burn." Not doing it. I couldn't feel my lats. Bullshit. I had to do those for probably 4 programs of
If you
John.
can't feel your lats at a dumbbell pullover, there is something very wrong with your body.
Oh, I agree with you. Yeah. But what's happening, I guarantee they're doing this. They do this. What did that work? That's not tricep. That's a long head of my tricep. You can't extend the arm or the elbow. Sorry.
Yeah.
Um, so I want to piggyback off of your exercises that you were saying, and I just want to give some hard examples and just walk through each body part. I feel like incline and dumbbell and barbell get a bad rap. People are choosing machines and Smith machine over those two basics. I know that that people also say flat bench, but I'm actually a believer in not doing flat bench. It's just too much risk reward there, so I'm not going to put that in there. Dumbbell flies I would put in there because most are going to opt for a pec deck, a high cable crossover, some kind of fancy setup roller fly. And listen, I love roller flies, but it's not a dumbbell incline fly.
Mhm.
Do those 1 week and tell me how sore you are up at the collarbone through your front delt too. It works. For back, I'm going to go on a limb and say pull-ups
Oh yeah.
and anything barbell related and dumbbell related. So barbell rows or T-bar rows in the corner, or if you have a landmine, whatever, because everyone shits on the baby handle and all that bullshit. Like, go look at Michaela Aycock do T-bar rows and tell me that's not working her back.
Mhm.
Go look at David Lamartina do his T-bar rows at Destination. Tell me that's not working his back. So barbell rows, either overhand or underhand, I don't care. And then honestly anymore, man, like I think the dumbbell row is being eroded. People don't want to do that shit. They want to go get on the hammer strength piece or the Arsenal or the Prime, and they want to pull that bitch with 6 plates on it. Or maybe not 6 plates, that's an exaggeration, maybe two. Or even they'd want to do like a cable row one arm. And listen, you know I like cable arm one arm rows, but I'm not doing that in place of a dumbbell row.
Yeah. Well, back to all the, everybody wants to do chest supported back everything.
Yeah, yeah,
And then they wonder why their erectors suck,
yeah, agreed.
you know? Or the fact that they can't actually bend over and keep the weight in their hips and glutes.
Yes,
It's all in their lower back.
right.
It's like, how do you learn that? I don't know, by practicing it?
Yes. Yeah. All right. So shoulders. I will die on this hill. Dumbbell side laterals and bent over laterals, no one knows how to do anymore.
No.
They want to rely on a machine, a cable, a pec deck. Listen, I like all those. I like reverse pec deck. You know, I love seated machine flies or sorry, side laterals, but it doesn't replace dumbbells. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. Um, for legs, front squat, back squat, both of those are a lost art, as you said. Um, even anymore, I feel like a lot of people don't even want to squat in the Smith machine. They want a pendulum, they want the true squat, they want a hack squat. And that's not the same. I believe the foundation of my legs were built with a bar on my back. Um, and then with legs too, I'll throw in there. I think walking lunges. No one wants to do those shits anymore. Like, go back and watch Ronnie do those in the parking lot, and then look at his glutes. That's males and females, by the way. He had some of the best glutes in bodybuilding history. And I believe it's because he was doing all those damn parking lot lunges. Now people will say genetics and all this crazy shit. Okay, cool. But I'm telling you, lunge for higher reps and tell me your glutes aren't sore as hell the next day.
Yeah.
RDLs, I would probably throw in that mix too. Even though I think a good amount of people are doing them, I would just count that as an exercise that people are forgetting about. And then for arms, barbell or easy bar curls, and then skull crusher patterns like incline, flat, decline, close grip bench press, JM press. I very rarely see a lot of that stuff being done right now. It's like you said, it's on the cable with one arm and they're isolated and they got shit wrapped around them. And I'm like, oh man, like I get this, but I'm going to say this and try not to offend a lot of people. Consider yourself in the mirror. Do you look like you've trained heavy and hard for a decade? If the answer is no, all the exercises we just listed should be in your program. I'm sorry. If you can walk into a gym with a t-shirt and pants on and no one knows that you lifted weights, you need all those exercises.
Mm.
And that doesn't mean when you have a pump or you have a stringer tank. I'm talking about a normal size t-shirt. Do people know you lift weights? The normal person, not because you're walking into a gym. Would they know? The answer is no. Do the basics. So, where were your thoughts? Like, let me ask you this. What do you think is causing people not to want to do those? Do you think it's because they're hard?
Yeah, that because they're hard. I swear to God, the normal consensus of things nowadays is what's the least I can do and make progress
Yes.
versus, when both of us were coming up, it was like, what was the most we can do and still recover from?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And nowadays it's what's the least I can do and get away with.
Yeah. Agree. Agree.
And I mean, some things it's like cool. I mean, like that's why people track just their macros now.
Mhm. Yeah.
They're like, oh, I'm getting my protein in, even though 50% of it's not even a complete source.
Yeah.
They're like, it's easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like you're never gonna replace fucking eating chicken.
No, no. Chicken, steak, turkey, fish, eggs. Sorry, those are staples. We have to eat those. So I definitely think the heart is, I think, one of them. I think also learning curve is another. Like anything that takes more than 1 or 2 sessions to figure out. I mean, I think you and I are still trying to figure out exercise. Like we're trying to find ways to be better at it. And I very rarely have ever seen anyone who's put a bar on their back or picked a bar off the floor that they're like, "Oh, session one, I got it. That's it. I have nothing to work on." You know, or a barbell row. You're like, "Man, I didn't really feel that in my lats today. That was a lot of trap and Riddell." Okay, cool. Like, let's dig in and find out why. Like, let's start refining it. How many pull-ups could you do? Three.
Yeah,
Like, I think about that shit, right? Because it's like I think the barrier to entry, everyone wants to be so good and get like street credit, so to speak, when they walk in the gym. Like it's a lot easier to load 3 plates on a hammer strength row than to pick up the 150-pound dumbbell. It just is with good form and good reps. And
yeah,
no one wants to put in that time of working their way down the rack. I mean, I'm sure you could remember back 5 years ago where you were on that dumbbell rack for pressing, for rowing, for RDLs compared to now. Like, and in the moment, you're like, man, I've got to keep on this course. I'm going to keep working my way down that fucking rack. Like, it's a mindset. It's a mindset, I think, to me, that was developed by watching the older guys lift and be like, one day, motherfucker, I'm going to be there, but not today. And I wasn't scared to humble myself and know that, like, I had to pay my dues, so to speak. And it wasn't the dues to the gym, it was to those fucking weights, man. Like, I think so many people have so little respect, and I think that's also why you see so many people not racking their weights and putting them away properly. Is like they don't respect those damn weights. And when I walk into a gym, the people who've lifted them before me, and the people who lift them after me mean something, and that has to stem from my love of training to feel that way. And maybe not everyone does. I don't know.
yeah, yeah.
Old man rant.
There's definitely a huge disconnect there nowadays.
Mm.
Everybody wants to be amazing at things when they pick them up the first time,
Right.
and that's like the harsh fun with bodybuilding is like, I mean, you're not going to be.
No, no.
Yeah, and it's very, it's relevant in how much knowledge you can see how much knowledge you have,
Yes.
you know, and that's what people fucking hate these days. They're like, "Oh, your physique doesn't mean how much you know." It's like, well, it definitely shows how much effort you've put in. It blows my mind. Like, I mean, like, I 100% understand if you don't like, bodybuilding, but you like training.
Mhm.
But like at the same time, it's just like it's pretty easy to see who likes training because they look like they train.
Correct.
It makes zero sense to me. Like when you got an educator who's like, I'm an expert on biomechanics and I know how to train the best. And it's like, why do you look like a bag of milk?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like, can you make this make sense? Like, I can understand you don't like the diet, but
Right.
like, you know, I have never seen like, Dave Tate has a terrible fucking diet,
Yeah.
and that man looks like he is he's got the widest, he's wide shoulders, he's got big fucking quads, he's got big fucking arms,
Yeah.
you know. Really good fucking example. That dude loves the fucking trade.
Yep.
You know
Yep.
what I mean?
That is eluded so many of the science-based community, right? It's like, and I think maybe it's because the ability to walk into most gyms and just have normals around you. Like, where if you put them in a gym that fosters hard training, bodybuilding, powerlifters, strongmen, they would feel very inadequate and insecure. And I know that because I've seen it happen. And I also know that because I was once small, young, and thought I had all the answers. And I walked in, I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm teeny. I know nothing compared to these men around me. And it's like, shut the fuck up and learn. Like,
Yep.
take it in. What are they doing that I'm not? And the answer was I just needed more fucking time. I was doing a lot of the right things from a young age, but there was always something I could learn from every person that was better than me, is how I looked at it. Like, you know something that I haven't discovered yet, and I was always two ears, one mouth when it came to that. And it's really hard to have these there because they aren't intelligent conversations. It's always you're wrong, I'm right, as opposed to, hey Chris, like you've had 22 years of experience in a weight room with people. You've had to find some clues, right? No, it's like, oh, you're a dumb meathead. You use synthol and tons of drugs, and that's the only reason you're huge. Okay. So if that was the case, why would I go train?
Yeah.
Just fucking do this and call it a fucking day and sit around and look jacked. Well, I would still train because it's fun, but if their logic prevailed, like, cool, awesome.
Yeah. I mean, that's always my favorite thing to point out. Like, if this was just drugs, like I would love to point out how many fucking people are on drugs.
Yes.
I
Yep.
mean, men's TRT clinics pumped out, that's $1 billion industry in the United States.
Right. Yeah.
Just men's TRT clinics, right? The amount of men that are taking testosterone,
Yeah.
it's like 1 in 3 people,
Yes. Yep.
you know? It's like, all right, cool. Are 1 in 3 people even remotely fucking jacked?
No, not even close.
You know?
You
It's
know,
the same concept with Ozempic.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
That
Right.
shit works great. People are still fat.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if it was just the drugs, right?
Yep.
It would those things would have ended.
Agreed.
If it was just the drugs, bodybuilding would just be like, all right, who's got the most? It would just be a matter of paying for the drugs and winning shows.
Right. Yeah.
It is not that.
And what I always love about that is, they have their heroes in their side of the table or camp, and they think they're not on as much or more than we are. That's what I find laughable. I'm like, hold on, you think he's natural? Okay, cool.
Yeah,
We're never gonna see eye to eye
yeah,
because fun fact, I know behind the curtain.
yeah. And then I mean, you got either side of the coin too. You got people like Chase Irons, who does a lot of drugs,
Right.
and he's the same weight as me, and he's 6'3".
Correct.
I'm 5'5". Let's give you some perspective.
Right.
Yeah, there's no chance in hell I'm a 40 and 18. I use a growth hormone a day. I'm not using a whole bottle of Therostem a day. Like, you can ask my girlfriend. There's zero chance that's happening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
My testosterone levels are not 20,000 nanograms per deciliter.
No.
You know, like props to him. I have no problems with him on the planet. He's just an honest dude, and
Yeah.
he likes seeing what the limits are.
Yeah.
That's honestly is super cool to me.
Yes.
But at the same time, it's just like it's obviously not just drugs.
I'll give some legit numbers here for anyone who's interested. I've used 8 units of Sero, and definitely felt a difference. But in terms of the amount of money I had to spend to acquire that versus 4 or 6 to get pretty damn similar results, not worth that price increment change. Oh shit, I just broke the internet.
Yeah,
Sorry, they probably think put a 1 in front of that 8.
yeah.
Listen, fun fact, if I was taking 18 units of Zero a day, I would have a Lamborghini in the garage.
Oh
I'm
yeah. I would much rather just own a house outright.
like, yeah, that's just being honest. Like, I wouldn't be fucking around on YouTube, let me tell you that.
No.
So, yeah, it's interesting, right? When those uneducated people try to say that stuff and they have no idea, like they don't even have a clue what we just spoke about for the last 5 minutes. or if they do, they've never experienced it. Like, so it's hard to have an opinion on it, in my opinion.
Yeah,
So, you know, to get us back on the realm of exercises and exercise selection, I think a lot of times people get confused because they're bombarded with so much information on social media. Like, who do I listen to? Who has all the answers? And, or, I know I was even guilty when I was young of I was copying a lot of the routines of the pros out of the magazines, and I probably needed to throttle back a little bit because I wasn't at that level. Um, but where would you say someone who is in the around the intermediate to beginner to like to the beginning side of advanced, like how would you suggest they set up their workouts is if you're talking about like the basics versus isolation and specialization in terms of percentage of the session?
honestly, it depends on training age.
Correct.
Like if you're 18 to in your 20s,
Yep.
you know, up to 18 to 30,
Yep.
honestly, most of your shit should just be basic fucking shit.
Agreed.
You should be picking up really heavy shit and working in pretty much every rep range.
Yep.
Like I would love to see someone do a nasty set of fucking 8 reps on a hack squat and then taking off some weight and trying to get 30.
Correct. Agreed.
You know what I mean? Just getting stupidly strong in every rep range and doing very little isolation shit.
Yep.
Mainly because if I could go back and change that, I would do even less isolation shit just so I have more time to work on the fucking basic shit. Because it's always comical to me because like the dudes what just fucking sit there and work their ass off and did that for 5 to 10 years
Yeah.
of basic hard shit. It doesn't even matter what fucking program they did. They
No.
picked their gym when they're 5x5. They did the mountain dog training.
Yep.
They did anything that way. They just busted their ass at it.
Yep.
They're always bigger than the dudes who changed their program every 8 weeks because they weren't sure.
Yes. Agreed. Yep. 1000%. I would agree with you. I think early on, you need to be mastering the basics. And I realize that that learning curve may take years. But if you love weight training, what the fuck do you have to do? Like you, it's as we've said with anything in this podcast, right? You either pay the Pied Piper now or later. You have
Yeah,
to choose. And I would prefer if an 18-year-old came to me, let's say straight out of sports, out of high school, whatever, and said, Chris, I want to be a freak. I want to be an Olympia one day. Okay, cool. Build me a training program, build me a diet. It would be so fucking basic. And they would probably be bored with it. And I'm like, good. I need you to be bored with it. Like, I need you to master this. And the next thing you know, they're like, oh, well, I'm 30 pounds heavier than all my friends who are doing all this Instagram shit. Like, yeah. Weird how that
mhm,
worked, right? Yeah. I wonder why. Oh, yeah. I can also now bench 3 plates on the incline and they're struggling with 185. Yeah,
yeah,
that's why. You're welcome. Now you have a foundation. Now you want to start adding in hammer strength and pack deck. By all means, have at it. Like I try to remind people of this. When I started with John, I did 2 flat exercises ever. And those are sessions. I did 4 total sets of flies over the course of the first 2 years to build a chest with him. 2 years, I did 4 sets of flies. No one remotely understands the truth in that. He
mhm,
said, you need thickness. You have to press like a motherfucker and get strong. I said, yes, sir. Done. That's what works. It worked for me. And everyone's like, oh man, like, your chest is so huge now. Yeah, no shit.
yeah. Yeah, you're like, yeah, I'm picking shit up what's heavy.
Right, right, right. If you sit back with dumbbells that scare you, you're in a good spot. I
Yeah,
I really believe that. It's one of those things where I think if you're let's take a leg workout for example. I would say and this is going to be just straight to the damn face of I would do leg curls, adductors because I believe in that to warm up. Squats, it would be a ton of them, and then it would be a leg press or a hack squat maybe, and then finish with a walking lunge. And it's like do that and be great at it. And then I'm going to RDL on my back day. If I'm young and starting over, that's what I'm doing.
mhm,
Um, and that's all it would be. And if you want some variety, I'd switch back and forth between front squat and back squat, and I'd switch back and forth between a lying leg curl and a seated leg curl. And if you wanted to like rotate the lunging around, you could say You can do lunges one week and do Bulgarian split squats the next. Like it's as simple as that. And if you took time to, work down the stack on the leg curl and adductor, if you spent time building the plates up on a hack squat, and then getting better at walking lunges and split squats, I'm telling you, your legs would be drastically better than your buddies who are doing fucking sissy squats and toes pointed this way on the leg extension.
Mm-hmm.
It's and I know that's a tough pill to swallow because gyms are now stocked with really fancy equipment and it looks cool and it's shiny and you probably get on there and can feel an instant connection to the muscle. Like I get that, but if you're young, man, like don't waste your youth being pretty and fancy. Waste
Mm-hmm.
your youth on things that are going to pay dividends when you're in your 30s and 40s.
Yeah. Well, and then I mean, just take this for granted. It's just like if I had a girl come to me and they wanted to grow their glutes, would I have them do heavy leg press and heavy hinge motions or glute kickbacks?
Right.
Like, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out.
No, no.
Like they're gonna eat their food, they're
Mhm.
gonna leg press,
Yeah.
and they're gonna hip hinge in some fashion, you know. And then I wouldn't even have them do kickbacks.
No, no,
I'd be like, don't even fucking waste your time doing that right now.
no.
That can come later,
Agreed. Agreed.
And they're gonna look over at their friends doing their glute kickbacks, and their friends are gonna look back at them being like, "That this person's fucking stupid." And then in a year, their person's gonna have an extra fuck. They're gonna have a Brazilian butt lift looking fucking results. The other person's gonna look the fucking same.
Right. Yep. Yep. And they wonder why. Like, oh, it's just got to be the leggings, right? It's got to be that scrunch booty legging. No, homie. She added a half of a pound to each damn glute. Like, and I I know that people will probably believe this too. Like, women need different things than men. And I don't think women need different things than men. I think they just need better exercise selection or different. Like, I'm never, if you have a bikini girl or a girl who just wants to look good in a bikini, look great for their husband, fill in the blank, like, I'm never gonna have her do a ton of chest and a ton of arms and calves. I'm just not gonna do that. Like, you're gonna have some of that, but not very much. It's gonna be a lot of glutes, a lot of abs, a lot of shoulders, a lot of upper back.
Mm-hmm.
Simple as that. And they love the training, their shape improves. Like next thing you know, it's like, oh man, like you really have an incredible V taper. Like your back is developed when you have a tank top on. Like your waist is invisible. Yeah, no shit. And then, oh yeah, you have a glute shelf that you can set a Coke can on. Awesome. What woman and man wouldn't love that? Funny how that works, right? It's like the a lot of times just a step back to evaluate goes a long ways.
Yeah. Well, it's just one of those concepts. It's just like, I mean, use your observation skills. Like, I mean, what division has the craziest fucking glutes at the highest level? I don't
Wellness.
know.
Yeah.
That and open bodybuilders,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Like, take a gander at fucking,
Brew.
Anya, like
Yeah.
Samson's fucking glutes.
Yeah.
Go take a gander at them.
Yeah.
Everything else is crazy developed, but why are his glutes that way?
Right.
You know? And it's just like, wow, man, we should just take some of that and apply it to you if you want to grow your glutes.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
It truly is. Which, I think a lot of times when coaches think about that strategically for marketing, they're like, how can I sell this? And I think that's where they struggle because it's like, oh, well, I can sell these like fancy booty programs and make a lot of money, or I can tell people the truth and the basics of what I would do if I had, like, say, my life on the line. If a female came to me and said, "Look, Chris, you have a year to put 3 inches on my glutes." Okay, I know what I'm going to do. Versus if someone said, "Hey, Chris, like you have to make $1 million on selling programs, like what am I going to sell?" That might be a little different. It's not because it's not as sexy and flashy. Like,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of times that's what sadly we're a victim to is, telling a girl like, oh, if you get your glute bridge to 4 or 5 plates aside, if you get your RDLs to, 2 or 2 1/4, 3 plates, if you can lunge with the 80s in your hands on a split squat, like your glutes will be bigger and better. And I'm like, oh shit, that's daunting. That's how long is that going to take? Maybe 3 years. I don't know, maybe faster, depending upon your strength and size. But if that's the secret, it's not really much to it. It's that Dante Trudell rule, right? Like, I can't remember what the number. He said, like, if anybody puts 200 pounds on their bench, their chest is going to be bigger.
Mhm.
Anybody puts 200, 300 pounds on their deadlift, their back's going to be better.
Yeah, exactly. It's that same concept. It's just
Yeah,
like, all right, cool. If your chest isn't great, it's like pick a chest exercise, which is a
right.
compound movement,
Yep.
and add 100 pounds to it.
Yeah, right.
Over the course of a year.
Mhm. Yep. Yep. I told you that many years ago. I said, Dave, learn to press 315 on the incline, you'll have a chest. And he said, okay. And you did it.
Hmm.
Guess what happened? Oh, you now have a chest.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to be an asshole.
Hmm.
I was like, here's the truth. Now just go accomplish it. You didn't say how long will it take. In your mind, you may have wondered how fast can I get there, but you just knew each week if you kept coming back, next thing you know, you had 315 in your hands and you were getting crushed by it. And the next thing you know, it was easy. And the next thing you know, you had 4 plates on there. And your chest explodes on a side chest on a most muscular. Weird how that works. I didn't tell you, oh, like maybe you're not twisting your hands right, or maybe you're not pinching your scapula enough together in the back. Like, no, I said, learn to press 3 plates and then incline for multiple reps and eventually get to the point where you don't need a spotter on it. You said, okay.
Yeah.
I wish I had some secret because if so, as I said, maybe we would be running 18 use a Cero a day if I had some secret.
Yeah. Yeah. If it was like make sure your pinky is pointing towards the, percendep, ro- and all sorts of shit. You have this huge, and you make sure your humerus comes across your chest. It's like, man, it's really not that complicated.
I have never said anything to you about sagittal plane, costal pec fibers, none of that stupid shit.
Yeah.
Fun fact, it doesn't mean I don't know it. I just think it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, another truth bomb by me, right? Oh God, Chris, what the fuck? What do you mean it's not? It's not fucking important.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times it comes down to when you train someone in person. If your trainer says bring your humerus across, over your clavicle, slap them in the fucking face and get a new trainer because they're just regurgitating what they fucking read in the textbook.
Right?
You
They,
know, if I tell you take the bar and act like you're gonna break it,
yep,
right?
yep,
I'm giving you a cue what's based off knowledge. What happens when you take that bar, you do that? Oh, you internally rotate your fucking elbows, right?
yep,
And you increase your range of motion.
yep.
You do that because of a fucking cue. I
Mhm.
didn't just tell you, hey, how about you internally rotate your fucking elbows? Like, if I said that to my grandma, she'd be like, what the fuck?
Right. Yeah,
I don't even know what that means.
yeah.
It's like if you can't break it down so it's someone can understand it. If you can't explain it to a 3-year-old, you don't know what you're talking about.
A lot of times with like chest training, for example, or any body part for that matter, I'll a lot of times just show the client that I'm working with in person, like, watch this. So if we're speaking about chest, right? I'm like, watch this. What just raised? Do you see that? It's hard as a fucking rock. Or if I press, look at that muscle go through my shirt. What just happened?
Mhm.
Like, now guess what? If I put load in my hands and do that, you think that muscle's getting worked? And they're like, yeah. Like, but you have to see it. I was like, muscles should rise and fall. I don't need to do the entire anatomy chart to make myself feel good because all I'm doing is speaking over someone's head or most people's heads and making them feel like a moron.
Mhm.
And that's never my goal. I'm like, I need you to think about your body as a piece of art and we're moving it. It's like you're moving it with purpose and intent to get a desired result. And when we do that, good shit happens. So if you have a trouble filling your chest, as I was just talking about, like you need to practice what I just showed over and over again while you're at work or during your session in between sets. If you can't make your chest contract through your shirt, how can you work it with load in your hands? And on the flip side of that, if you don't have enough load in your hands to make it rise and fall, that's also an issue. Because, as you and I have said, like no one's getting big off one play on the hamstring, sitting sideways, even though my chest is technically rising and falling. And no one's growing muscle doing that. You can look cool on the internet, but it's not going to give you a chest that you're proud of, or not one that I'm proud of, at least. Anything else you want to wrap up before we get off here?
No, that's really about it. Just make
Fucking,
sure you train your face off. Don't get stuck in what everybody else is saying. Try things for yourself. And lastly, like fucking use your eyes.
yeah,
Like if you walk into the gym and you see someone you want to look like, go pay attention to how they train.
yeah, oh yeah,
You
agreed.
know, and then if apply what needs to be applied.
Yeah,
You know, and also think back of what they're doing as well.
yes,
There's a huge difference between building, maintaining, and holding tissue.
yes, agreed.
You know, so if you're trying to build tissue and they haven't changed in 10 years, but they look the same, question what they did 10 years ago to get to that point.
Agreed.
Pay attention to how they're growing.
Okay. Yep.
But, there's going to be caveats for everything. But, use your eyes, pay attention,
Yes.
and apply it. And if it doesn't work for you, try something else. If squats feel fucking terrible for you, try a front squat.
Yep.
Try a safety bar squat. Try a hack squat.
Yep. Yeah.
And there's a huge difference between being not working for you and not feeling good.
Yes. Agreed.
You know?
Yep.
If it's an exercise, if the exercise you hate the most is probably the one you need the most,
Yep.
oh man, this is sucks. It's just like, why do you think it does?
Right. Right. Yes. Yeah, that's a great way to end, man. It's like a lot of times it's gonna feel like you're beating your head against the wall until you no longer are doing that. And it's like, I think this crowd wants to be to the side of huge, and they're missing out on that learning opportunity that you and I got to go through. And it's like, there's some pride in seeing the scale jump 10 pounds, and there's some pride coming from adding a plate to the bar on exercises or a quarter to a lift, whatever. Like, and those little incremental wins is what made me fall in love with this. Like next thing you know, you're wearing a large shirt, and then a large shirt's tight, and you're wearing extra large, then you have a double X, and now you're in a triple X. And it's like, now I need pants that are extra large. They're big in the waist, but they had to fit my quads. Like all those little wins, at least I wouldn't appreciate it as much if I just woke up one day. I was like, you know what? I'm the size of Kai Green, and awesome. Would it be cool? Fuck yeah. I'd be walking around hitting back to Obaso's fucking ever if I had his back. Always be hitting back. But what reward would that be? Like, it's just instant gratification. It'd be fleeting, and then I'd be like, yeah, this is boring. Fuck off. Like, it was too easy. Like, take the time to build a foundation and a base with the basic exercises. Then, if you realize that those basics aren't maybe the best for you, find out which ones are. So, for example, I'm gonna leave a hard truth before we leave here. Let's say barbell rows don't feel great to you. What about a one-arm barbell row in the corner? It puts you in a neutral grip. It goes one arm at a time. I think it's still just as effective as a barbell row, but it's a different style. So, again, for all you out there, we appreciate you lifting. Hopefully, everyone has a Merry Christmas. If Christmas Day is a training day for you, enjoy and let it rip. If not, enjoy one or two meals with your family and then get back at it on Thursday. So until next time, Chris, Dave, we are done.